Early childhood. For the next few years, I continued to swim around in the stormy seas that had become my life. In this time, we moved house, started a business, and I attempted to maintain this public image that I had my shit together and everything was fine. But it was far from fine. Rylan was showing more and more signs that he was struggling. Everything was too difficult. Emotions were constantly in overdrive for both him and me, and there was something going on with him that I couldn't put my finger on. He was so unlike my other children. He was in his own little world most of the time, and I felt like I was on restricted access to that world. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get inside. I could barely get a glimpse. I hated this. I wanted so desperately to get inside his world so that I could figure out what was making him struggle so hard. But he either wouldn't or couldn't let me in. He would look at me with those big brown beautiful eyes and seem to beg me for help, but couldn't tell me what he needed help with. Everything upset him, and when he was upset, he was angry, frustrated, aggressive, and closed off to the rest of the world. He knew words, he knew lots of words, but he never seemed to be able to communicate his feelings in a way for me to be able to begin to understand how to help him. I so desperately just wanted to help him. My mother heart was still in a sense of overwhelm and guilt. Even after all these years, I struggled with feeling like I was not good enough. I felt like a fraud. For every single compliment I received about being an amazing mother to 6 children and how well I was doing, I had at least 10 self-directed comments and thoughts about how much of a bad mother I was, and I was scared that if people found out the truth, then everyone would see me for the failure that I am. Because I truly felt like a failure. I felt like I was failing Rylan. But I persisted, never giving up on him, never giving up on the pursuit to find the key that would unlock what was going on in his world. I had so many questions that I wanted the key to unlock the answers to. By the time Rylan started kindy, I wasn't the only person asking questions. Comments were made by his educators, questions asked, discussions had. Rylan's challenges became so blaringly obvious and undeniable. This little man who could melt the coldest of hearts with his smile was having a hard time. This little man who was obsessed with all things Marvel and could list off all of the characters, and who had a quirky habit of lining up all of his Avengers characters in a neat little line that screamed perfection, was showing signs that life was proving to be comparably difficult to his peers around him. When it came to do his Ready for Prep assessment, there were even more questions raised, and this time we couldn't ignore them anymore. Rylan was not ready for prep the following year. He had made one friend during his first year of kindy, couldn't write one letter, let alone his entire name, and he would become so anxious with every change of routine that he would end up screaming and crying for hours on end. It was then that his teachers suggested we see a pediatrician for further investigations. It was then that the words autism and ADHD were mentioned for the first time in reference to Rylan's struggles.